probably blow our horn into Twyford. So far, I haven't missed a stop in the rain. I'm extremely thrilled. I've been hitting every networker turbo on the line. That's impressive. I mean, I could have just... I'm late here. People are missing their transfer. Sorry about that here, but... Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Train Sim World, where we are about to hit the very, very last networker turbo mission, the 2N08 London Paddington to Oxford. 58 minutes. What's the difference between Oxford and London Paddington and this one? Quite frankly, they're opposite route. Not only that, if you look at the right side there, you'll notice the weather setting to about 22 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why there was snow, at least on this mission, where this one's 62 degrees. This one happened to be in January. Oh yeah, that's right. We had a third one that was about the same way too. Yeah, so we had January, November, and finally we're doing June. The difference again was precipitation, wetness, completely full of snow, maybe not, maybe more rain. Finally, this one we're just gonna get rain for the very last one. Yay! No more networker turbos after this. I'm excited. Let's get right into this, folks. 10,550 AP. We need to remember that number. Alrighty, we have a 3-car networker turbo. It is raining outside. How exciting. Let's see our timetable. Stopping at Ealing Broadway is our first stop. Southall, Hayes Harlingtton, West Drayton, Iver, Langley, Slough, Maidenhead, Twyford, Reading. Oh my god, this is literally a complete polar opposite from the last version of the networker turbo I had done. The only difference is this time photo mode actually works like it's supposed to. So I guess the first thing we'll do is we'll turn on the wipers. Might as well put it on max so I can at least get most of the rain out of the way. Let's go ahead and turn on the train lighting. Let's turn on the cab lighting. When are we supposed to leave? We were already supposed to leave. What is it? In a couple minutes here. How exciting. We're late already. TPWSIS is normal. DFD isolated to normal. Pretty much everything else on the top row is already set to normal. We're not going to worry about that. Headlight, because it is 5 in the morning. Headlight need to be on night headlamp mode. Even though it looks like it's daytime, it won't be daytime until 7 and 8 o'clock, whatnot. We won't worry about that. Behind us is our AWS fuse. Turn that on. Check and see if we've got passengers. Our train is full up on passengers. Excellent. Let's go ahead and turn on the master key. Put the reverser on the forward. Press Q to get rid of that annoying noise. And let's just go ahead and try throttle 7. Let's see if we have any wheel squealing. I don't think we have to worry about anything else. This is perfect. We are on a roll. Dispatch, phone, there we are. Proceed a single to indicate, and the very last, my favorite light ever, the reading light that does absolutely nothing, and no matter how you do it. Train horn real quick, just to make sure that's working. Everything else is on board. I think at this point, we just have to make sure we make full stops at the station that we're going through. Ealing Broadway is not for 5.2 miles, so we have a little ways to get there, and we're already speeding just a touch, but I'm not going to worry about it because 3-car networker turbo, that's just going to turn our speedometer over. There we go. We're up to 40 miles an hour, and we're ready to roll on out to 50. Outside camp says is extremely foggy. Oh my god, you can't see anything here. This is amazing. There is a lightning storm somewhere out there, so I don't have to worry about that so much. It's actually pretty decent. One of the things that I want to make sure that we cover in this particular version of the networker turbo is the issue of when was the networker turbo first started. Something I was looking into is like, what was up with the networker turbos? Had they been out pretty recently? At least it feels like in Train Sim World they've been around just for a short while. Network Southeast, they are the ones who introduced the Networker series of trains, and that happened in 1986. Yes, Networker turbos are about 30 years old. It's quite insane. They're kind of recent in the context of recency. Hopefully later in this episode we'll kind of get into what I mean by that, but for now we're going to be talking a little bit about Network Southeast to kind of get a basic for where the Networker turbos originated from, and then go from that point. Next up it's 50-mile-an-hour zone, then 80-mile-an-hour zone, and I think we can make this pretty decent. The idea behind Network Southeast back in 1986 was to replace the older type of train. These trains had the old-fashioned slam door carriages, so you had to slam the door in order to shut the door. It wasn't like these nifty buzzer-operated things where you could just, buzz the guard here or press the button and it'll do things automatically. So there's some differences there. Unlike the previous rolling stock in the UK, networker trains used aluminum bodies to say, wait, let's go outside and see that aluminum body in style. Yes, the body itself of the networker turbos here are in fact aluminum, or aluminium as you might say there. Aluminium, and that was designed to save weight, which eventually saved costs on fuel, because these are of course diesel units. Very important to kind of keep that fact in mind, folks. The fact that these electric motors, in particular with the networker turbos, also featured AC traction motors and air conditioning, especially when you start getting into the class 166. That was one of the distinctions between the 166 and the 165, is there were some contemporary upgrades within the engine itself to make the ride more comfortable, more easier, more user-friendly compared to the 165 previously. Now, I've done an episode probably early on about the Networker turbos, and this is essentially like an add-on to it in a way. Something I didn't talk about is the design was to cover the requirements for future Network Southeast multiple units. This included new routes such as Channel Tunnel Rail Link. Network Southeast intended for the fleet procurement to be performed in a rolling fashion. The original intent was ordering 300 carriages per year. The Networker was originally intended to become one of the largest families of train, bigger than even the largely Mark III based second generation of vehicles. However, during the recession era in the 1990s and the privatization of British Rail, 340 of those trains were just built, completely fewer, way fewer than the original plan was for Networker Rail or Network Southeast. So again, Network turbos were meant to be the mainstay of rail. They were meant to be reliable. They were meant to be user-friendly. And some of the commentary, if you look up commentary in London, UK, whatnot, and you go, well, what do people think about Networker turbos? A lot of people like the design, don't get me wrong. The design of the Networker turbos are actually fantastic. They're beautiful looking rail coaches. They're, oh my gosh, don't need to AWS my way over. But yeah, they're beautiful looking railroad coaches and they do the job beautifully. However, realistically, are they worthwhile? Fuel efficiency, fuel economy? Probably not very much. Let's blow the horn here real quick so people know what's going on and where I am. I am about to come up to Ealing Broadway here in about a mile and a half, so I better not overdo this. But yeah, it says like we can go 90, but we're going to be stopping. Oh my God, there's I swear I saw a 25 zone. I swear I saw that, but it says 80, but that's okay. We're just gonna drop our throttle. We're gonna let ourselves coast down just for a touch until we hit a mile. Then I think we're gonna have to break our way down to Ealing Broadway. One of the commentary that frequently comes up is, when are they going to replace the Networker turbos? Because why in the nation capital would you have a Networker turbo driving on the rails when you can use something more fancy, something more modern, maybe something like Japanese Hitachi train, something more like the potential HS2 train? Instead, you see a bunch of intercity Networker turbos, you see a bunch of Networker commuter trains and whatnot. It's not quite as conducive as you would think for a nation capital that's promoting modernization to be using 30-year-old train. We got about 500 yards to stop, and I think I can make the stop. I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to bump up my brakes a little bit more. I went a mile out and I'm just going brake 1. It's obviously not gonna work, so we're gonna have to go to brake probably 2, maybe 3. We'll see what, yeah, we're definitely doing brake 3. Ealing Broadway is up. Let's let people know there's a high chance I'll be sliding through the station and missing my stop here. We don't need to do emergency stop. Oh, I think we're gonna make it. I think we're gonna make this one. Yes, I think we got this right on the dime. Let's see. Brake 1, brake 2, brake 3, brake 4. I think we might have the emergency stop, the last of it. All these people are stuck in the rain. No raincoat, no umbrellas. It's just so unfortunate that people have this ability here. Am I late? I am late already by 1 minute to the very first station. Good job me, because it takes me that long to set up a train. My goodness. But yeah, let's go ahead and lock down our train right about here. This is a good place to lock down the train. Stop, train. Stop. There we go. Perfect. Unlock left doors. Let's see what's going on outside, folks. Oh, you guys, get out. Oh, actually, I like this. Never mind. No wonder nobody has umbrellas. This is actually really nice. Look at this. I can stay nice and toasty, nice and dry out here. This lady, June is practically warm, so she's dressed for this occasion. That's great. But this guy, I mean, he's wearing a heavy jacket there. Thank you for popping me out there. He's wearing a heavy jacket. They're all wearing, stop doing that. They're all wearing heavy jackets here for a day in June. This is just ridiculous. Everyone here should be having umbrellas, raincoats, and no heavy jackets, right? With that said, let us go to our next stop. What is our next stop? Southall is up next. I love that. Now, of course, I don't know why all these folks are going this way in the rain. Like every last one of them. Look at that. That's insane. If you were here, would you go out in the rain to the staircase to cross over to the next line? Probably not. I would probably go that way into the building where I'm much more likely to be covered up by the rainstorm instead. Locking left door. Let us head out to Southall up next. One of the things you could do is you can use the compressor button just to kind of drop the brakes down as quick as possible, get your engine up to speed as quick as possible, especially on a rainy day. I think that does help to make that happen. Now, quick reminder from one of my earlier episodes, I mentioned this again. I mentioned this kind of sort of a few minutes ago, but Class 166s again were a faster variant of the Class 165. The Class 166 officially can go 90 miles an hour. It says so right here, max speed 90 miles an hour. We ourselves should not be going beyond that speed limit. Unfortunately, sometimes it feels like you can when you're just driving down the roadway here. But yeah, as a faster variant, you also have an air-conditioned variant. You also, oh shit, look at that, driving up in the rain. You also have the Class 166 being built for mainline working. 21 three-car units were built for the Thames and North Downs subdivision of Network Southeast in 1992 and 1993. Now keep in mind, the Great Western essentially started adopting these rail lines after they realized this thing existed, and there's a big piece of this that comes later in this episode about like why these trains can sort of interchange cars and whatnot. We will come back to that once we get the chance, but we're not quite ready. We're not quite there yet. Coming back to this again with Network Southeast in the 1980s. Let's honk our horn to make sure nobody's on the line. Good, everybody's good there. Back in the 1980s, they essentially had the Class 165, Class 166. They eventually picked up some electric multiple units, which included the 316, the 457, and the 365. From there, they had the Class 465, the 466. They were supposed to make a universal networker, a dual voltage train type for multitude of services. The idea was to make these units available, but what ended up happening, folks, is they ended up going with the Class 365 in 1993 instead of the upgraded 471 series. What that means is where you will see the Class 166 is primarily with the Great Western Railway. They are primarily the only ones operating the 166 and 165, while the short-term railways are operating the 165. Great Western Railway officially got introduced, the 166, again back to that, was officially introduced in 1992 through 1993. They only ordered 21 of these units, folks. 21 units. They had 3 cars typically, so you're thinking of the one unit that essentially, actually, quite frankly, like the one I'm driving right now. Again, the dual voltage version of Network Southeast, those were completely scrapped. The 316, 457, and 365, they all ended up scrapped at one time or another. However, the 365 still has a couple units that do run today, if I'm reading this right anyways, because they ordered 41 units and it looks like there are some available. The 465, the 466s were also dual voltage engines, but they were only used by the Southeastern Rail Company. With that said, we got 300 yards getting into Southall. I personally cannot wait to go like this, look on the outside cam, look at the new Southall once it's completely built, but until then, I'm stuck with the last of the GRE Networker Turbo. Nobody's on the platform today. This is the way it's supposed to look when it rains. 1, 2, there's 2 people over there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's 20 people on the other side. We probably should stop here. This is a good place to stop before I miss my stop. Hi, I'm gonna miss my stop. Yep, that's how it works, folks. That's how it works. Let's go ahead and unlock the left doors. That will do it. How far did we get out there? I'm kind of concerned we went a little. Oh, okay, people could still get in. That's good. Nobody's blocked by anything. Excellent work, folks. Excellent. Are we early? According to our timetable, we actually may have arrived about a minute late. Well, whatever. There is a lady on her phone. Seriously? She actually dialed the phone. I did not know that actually happens. Who knew that people actually had phones? I want to now find somebody else that has a phone. That is news to me. Somebody had a cell phone. It's not just a cup of coffee or suitcases. Oh yeah, this person has a phone too, but like she's already on the phone. This person actually dialed it. That was actually kind of cool. Oh well, time to lock the doors and drive out of here. So let's go ahead and what is it? Throttle 7. We'll just bump it up all the way. Technically with Networker Turbo, you just kind of bump it a little bit and then you go up for the rest of it. Hayes Harlingtton is 1.8 miles. Bye, folks. We gotta go now. Sorry, you gotta wait for your next train. Yeah, things get a little tricky. The further along we go, we start running into like closer and closer stops. So we'll see how long I can keep going with the conversation before I have to go. Oh my God, I'm gonna be just totally distracted by things. We're looking for what, 10,550 AP coins? I told you guys to remember what it was. Please remind me because I will forget this type of stuff pretty easily. I just know if we're hitting 11,000, we pretty much made platinum. We're okay after that, right? We do have to keep in mind yellow lights. Sometimes I'm not very good at paying attention to the yellow lights or anything like that. These rail cars, why can't I use them? I bet you there is a layer that is popping this into the game that I've already owned and I don't realize it exists. That's probably what's doing it for me, folks. Q, please. Thank you. I need to press Q. Need to remember to press Q. Since 2021, Great Western Railway has pretty much refurbished its entire fleet of Class 166 trains. So that means each and every train set has been sent off for repairs, for refurbishment, for redesigning and whatnot. The idea behind it is to make the Class 166 more comfortable compared to the original style of them. Whether that is true, we will find out, because people will probably still complain about the way the comfort is in the chairs. I mean, I doubt it that I would enjoy something like this. The chairs look kind of uncomfortable, at least to look at, so maybe it's not that comfortable to stand on. I don't know. We'll have to see what that means. There was, 57 Class 165/166 networker turbos that were refreshed at the Wolverton-based refurbishment specialist. Passengers will supposedly notice things like new seat covering. They will notice repainted interior panels and extremely important, folks, a new floor. Yes, that is right, folks. You too can see a brand new floor inside your train. Not just the fact that it just was scuffed by a whole bunch of people walking on it. Ironically, people would not be paying attention to things like anti-corrosion work. I mean, if you think about it, here I am outside, here, the river is right there, sucking up salt water, putting that salt water on this thing, and basically ruining the exterior paint. You gotta make sure there's anti-corrosion for that type of stuff. And certain locations had the anti-corrosion added on. And ironically, the trains that are about, 30 years old, give or take, right? 30 years old. There was hardly any actual corrosion happening on the train. So 30 years ago, the folks that designed the networker turbo did an amazing job to make sure those networker turbos stayed corrosion free. Huge kudos to the developers of that, right? We have to appreciate that immensely. By the way, I should say this now. This is a good time to notice the new rain effects. I've said this before at one point, but this one's really noticeable, more so than before. This is the new rain effects, folks, and you can see how that's raining down. That is going to be coming in GWE Remastered. If you played the original version of this, you'll remember how the original rain went, and it was nothing like this, folks. Alrighty, locking our left doors, of course. I don't think I mentioned unlocking the doors. I just happened to do it. But yeah, so let's go ahead and release the brakes, and we're going to go ahead and throttle up again to throttle 7. While those doors lock, we could press the buzzer. We had a guard. This one does not have a guard, whatever. West Drayton, 2.3 miles away, not too far off. We're going downhill, so probably don't need the compressor speed up button for any of that. You can just kind of roll it downhill. I appreciate the fact that these trains could do really well was very, very extremely flat line, thanks to not fat line, but flat line, thanks to the way Brunel designed the lines here. However, with that said, they could use better power on these locomotives so they can kind of pick up a little quicker, so I wouldn't be so late as I usually am in every single networker turbo I've probably done. I don't remember a single one that actually got early, except for maybe one where I had a game crash and I managed to come back to it. Speaking of that, I probably should save my game. Now, the dumb thing about saving my game, folks, is the fact that the game is just, you run the risk of ruining your game anyways with the game save. So if somehow my game crashed and I had to reload it, I'm probably not guaranteed to come back into my game anyways, right? So it's a 50-50 gamble. You're rolling the dice. We'll see what happens. Yeah, even though I've been talking about the networker turbo Class 166s, you do have to remember there were Class 165s on the line, and the first 8 of them were repainted from the first group blue to the GWR green. All of the other trains had already been repainted by this point. Most of the class has already been put back into service, not just the 165, but also the 166. And the 166220 set is designed to join its stablemates essentially over the next, probably there by now by the time this recording goes up. Realistically, this was put out around September when they were releasing that last final train set back to the line, and so that line's back on board. Work originally originated around, oh god, let's go ahead and slow down because we're coming into West Drayton any second now, so we're gonna just go ahead and tap the brakes ever so lightly, braking 1 as we roll on in. September 2021 was the original start date for the 57 train fleet to actually get refurbished between the Class 166 and the Class 165. Each train was out of service for about 4 to 5 weeks in total per train set. Keep that in mind, per train set. It wasn't like they took 3 of them off service at one time and refurbished them or anything like that. It was literally a one train set job at a time to do all the refurbishment. And 4 to 5 weeks is a long time for a train set to be out of commission and just not operational. The idea behind it was the demonstration of the industry showing that they could be collaborative workers and create a way for this to happen between a group called Angel Train and Gemini Rail Services. The 3 years for these operators and the owners and stuff to be willing to give up their line for complete refurbishment, it's kind of insane, but it needed to happen because you had these things that were going on the line for 30 years. You had 2 choices. You could scrap them and replace them with a completely new line, or you could try to save some money and refurbish what you've got, especially when they're extremely reliable like these networker turbos. With that said, West Drayton is here. We don't need to honk the horn in this particular station because everyone is doing their job staying off the yellow line. And I'm also rolling into this nice and slow, so no rush here at all. With that said, let's go ahead and park our train right about, let's back off the brake right about here. I think this will do it. Beautiful. 2 miles an hour, 5 yards. That is much better. Let's unlock the left doors and load up our passengers. Folks, check this out. There is a networker turbo rolling right on in, and I think this will be a good moment for photo mode. Yeah, I think this will be a beautiful moment for photo mode. I just need to advance the time just a touch. Let me show you the advanced time feature. It's really cool. You just hit this button and you can kind of see that train will roll in. Here's the bizarre part. Photo mode will permanently advance time, so it's not like it's going to be stuck there. You can actually advance the time as far as you'd like, but you can't rewind time, unfortunately for me. That really just sucks. Guys, I've gone and disappeared. That is dumb. I'm like gone inside my train. Where am I? Am I in the back car? I'm just not here. I'm like completely vacant. I don't know what happened to my person. Well, whatever. We can borrow the other. Yeah, I'm definitely not back there. We could just borrow their networker turbo. I think that will cut it. Guys, I'm so scared to do anything with the weather, but I'm going to try this. I'm going to try to shut off the rain and let's see what happens. We're going to shut the rain off. Oh my God, that looks so much better instantly. Instantly so much better from a picture point of view. Look at that. That's amazing. All right, photo mode needs to get fixed, people, because I take off the rain and then it comes right back on, which is really annoying. And then I have to do some readjustment to make this work. Stop the rain. I stopped the rain already. No, it's still going. What the heck? Precipitation 5%. Darn it. Alrighty, we are ready to lock the doors. Look at how convenient that was. That was awesome. Our networker turbo next door. It's right there. We're gonna lock the doors. Let's pop out on the outside cam. We're literally door to door here. That's actually kind of cool because I can get up literally off the seat, open the door, walk up, say hi to the passengers right there. I could almost walk right into their cab. That is just flipping amazing. Well, anyways, we're gonna be later than we want because I'm getting out of the cab here. So let's go ahead and drive ourselves forward. Let's head ourselves to Iver and get this train on a roll. Give ourselves a little honk just in case there's happened to be somebody around the back of that car. I don't think we need to worry about that, folks. So looking at the overall GWR's overall outlook and what they want to do for the future, I was like, what does GWR wants to do for the future? I was super curious about this. And one of the things I realized is the London to West of England market, it's about 110% of where they were before COVID. That's a huge deal. However, business travel has basically sunk. For whatever reason, people either are staying home or they're just not traveling as much as you would expect. However, the overall general community, they have been doing the rail lines as much as possible. Now, there is some things in terms of potential changes that they might want to look at in terms of what they might want to do. One of those happened to be looking at Oxford and how to connect Oxford more directly. All right, as of a couple episodes ago, we were talking about Oxford Station, right? What we noticed is that the Great Way Round trip would go from London to Reading to Oxford, right? Versus going straight from London right over to Oxford, which will be technically a way more shorter route than if they went from the traditional Great Way Round that they normally do. And if you were trying to build a market, you would try to cater to the audience in a way that you could actually be more accessible to them, I guess you could say, at least as a train unit or a train set. And you want to be able to accommodate things like the Bristol service over there. You want to be able to link services with Banbury, which will overall reduce the number of terminating trains, just reduce the overall shunting needs at Oxford as well, which would essentially boost the number of trains that happen to be available on the tracks at a given time, but also makes the service shorter, time friendly, etc., and more people will be more likely to hop on a train like that. With that said, we're coming into Iver right now, probably a little bit too fast than I was thinking. Probably gonna have to, yeah, there we go, much better. Train break 3 almost cut it. Almost cut it, folks, almost cut it. We're now going way too slow. Insane, man, just insane. Yeah, on a networker turbo mission, you guarantee be late. It said 58 minutes. We're probably gonna go way over 58 minutes. The episode is not, I'm trying to make sure the episode stays way under an hour. Oh, look at that. HST driving on by. We're just missing you, buddy. In case I didn't say it, unlocking the left doors, in case anybody loves to hear me say that sort of thing. The Thames Valley, if you look at the 2023 timetable, the change in the Thames Valley had seen GWR focusing on longer distance services. They're looking at outer suburban flows, whatever that means. Essentially, think of going from Paddington to some faraway thing like Cardiff, right? Paddington to Didcot services now run faster to Slough, which Slough, by the way, happens to be not quite our next station stop, happened to be the one after Langley here. here. What that does is it allows the relief line out of Paddington solely specifically for the Elizabeth line and for freight services. And so that means the Slough called in at Oxford services on the main, those ones have been completely cut out, which assists with the wider amount of reducing the services on the main lines itself and reducing the overall mainline platform at Slough. Slough tends to be kind of a busy station. I know people just give big thumbs down to Slough, but go with it, okay? You have Reading at the busy station, you have Slough at the busy station, and you have Paddington at the busy station. And whatever you can do to free up train platforms so more people can be accessible and get on board that train, the better it is for all of us to get on board and reach our destination at a reasonable manner. Especially when you go into, say, Langley, 1.5 miles, and you got trains in front of you, trains behind you. You want to make that trip go as quick as possible, right? You don't want to have someone like me get emergency stopped and just be slammed on my brakes here. That would be dumb, right? Just dumb. Ironically, even at Slough, they installed fencing to prevent people from trespassing onto the rail lines, which also prevents delays as well, to some small degree. The fact that the GWR has essentially withdrawn some of its station location, those lines have now been replaced with the Elizabeth line. The Elizabeth line now the one that's stopping as part of the overall expansion of the Elizabeth line's services in the full end-to-end timetable. The changes, however, of course, not everybody is too happy with the changes itself. They had issues with the relief, they've had issues with whether or not Slough, Maidenhead, and Twyford essentially all go to the Elizabeth line, or should GWR be the one responsible for the station stop. In the end of the day, there's pressure from people on the North Cotswold line to cut the Slough calls on these services. There are large numbers of tourists traveling to Windsor. Why would they, right? They frequently change over at Slough. They use these services for 14-minute journey. Slough to Windsor, it's about 14 minutes. So that's not exactly the point of the service. It's not meant to be a quick journey trip for tourists and locals and tourist leaders, whatever it is, right? It's really meant for long-term train travel, etc. I am going way too fast to the station stop. I don't think we're gonna make it. I don't think we're gonna make it, folks. Everybody get out of the way. There's a good chance I'm stopping here. There is a good chance I'm not stopping. Ooh, emergency brake is working, folks. Emergency brake. Let's just unlock the doors, help that process along. Emergency brake. Can I make it? Oh my god, that door just got off the platform. People can get on, folks. That's more than enough locks are left, and then we're just gonna unlock them. We're just gonna unlock it one more time. I see the doors are working. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Everything's all right. We made it. Come on, unlock the doors. Unlock it. There we go. Yes, so right here we can get on the train. Everything is... Ooh, I'm about to hit the wrong button there. Anyways, everybody can just walk on the train. Everything's okay. You can totally step on here. Life is all right. All right, locking the doors. Let's get back on the trip here, and we should be ready to go. There it goes. Perfect. Let's go ahead and throttle up. Next stop is Slough itself. Why can't I throttle up properly? There we go. No. Come on, throttle. What's going on, throttle? Throttle does not want to work. This throttle is broken. The throttle is broken, folks. Why will you not work? That's just dumb. Forward. Okay, I accidentally turned that off. No wonder. Well, anyways, we're throttling up. We're headed out to Slough, 2.2 miles. With the changes at Slough here, the idea behind it again is to prevent 14-minute journeys to Windsor, but also protecting the Didcot services that would normally go to Slough at an off-peak hour. All of the headrush, you're not getting the non-stop services over to Reading through Slough. You're avoiding some of the traffic that normally packs in Slough, and the advantage now is you're spreading the wealth to the Elizabeth line. The Elizabeth line now can carry the extra weight. The advantage again is you get things like Twyford and Maidenhead now getting faster services to London, unlike before where you have me being about a minute late, which frankly going into Slough about a minute late is not bad, although we're about a mile out, so we're probably at least 3 minutes late. And even west of Reading, you end up seeing commuters from stations between Didcot and Reading would typically change off at Reading itself, especially for a non-stop service going to Paddington. I mean, if I were getting off at Reading and I realized there's a non-stop service I can go from Reading to Paddington in one go, I would totally take that service. The thing about it is there's fewer stops each of Reading, and so the incentive overall is diminished from just jumping on what would be normally a multi-stop trip going into Paddington. However, now you can just jump onto Reading and go non-stop all the way to Paddington, make everything super easy. Or like that HST one that we drove just a few minutes ago. That's kind of what you're starting to see. All right, we're coming into Slough 1 mile out. This is where things are going to kind of get packed up here because we have Slough, we have Maidenhead, we have Twyford, and we have Reading. So it's not going to take very long to get to the final stop at all. We're going to just drop our throttle. We're going going to kind of coast our way down a little bit, and then we're probably just going to bump maybe one. Once we get into the 0.6 mile range, I think that'll be good enough. We still have a lot of greens. I can't see anything beyond this point because everything's so fogged out. I just know we have a lot of greens. Yeah, this is probably a good point to start slowing down, folks. There are new trains on board. Not really, but there is. Okay, so GWRs essentially benefit from bringing on the new train, including the Hitachi Intercity Express. They usually use this on long distance services. However, some interurban services in the west, such as Cardiff to Penzance, have been using this sort of, they essentially call them IET, Intercity Express trains. Okay, kind of keep that thought in mind for a second there. There's modern Class 387 Electrostars in Thames Valley, but GWR diesel fleet is still aging. Again, I said the networker turbos are about 30 years old. The HST, which we'll cover probably in the last episode there, that one is pushing 60 years old, folks. 60-year-old train, insane, that is still running in great condition compared to some of the newer stuff there. Yes, I know I gotta press Q for that because we're hitting the 50-mile-an-hour zone for just a brief second for some bizarre reason. Let's go ahead and brake a little bit more, get ourselves down to 20 miles an hour. We did really good in the last stop. I'm very happy about that. Welcome to Slough, folks. We should probably honk some of these people out of the way as we stop our train a little bit more. We're train brake 3. I think that is good enough. I feel like I brake way better than the AI. At least when I tried to do passenger mode, that thing was just like, what in the world are you doing on my train? You're braking me too hard. So I wonder I didn't bang my head on the wall kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is a much nicer, smoother stop. I mean, would you rather enjoy this sort of stop? Nice and smooth on a rainy day, folks. Nice and smooth. Coming to full stop in Slough right about now. And this will be a good time just to lock in the last of the brakes and unlock the left doors. Unlocking our left door to finally leave Slough. Next stop, I think it was Maidenhead, was it right? I believe it was Maidenhead. So locking our doors. Yes, it was definitely Maidenhead, Twyford, and Reading. 3 more stops before we're officially done with the very last networker turbo. I think I've spent more time taking pictures than I have driving a train. I'm actually doing pretty good. I am not too late, at least when I look at Slough here. 6:31, I was supposed to be there. I got there at 6:35, so that's what, 4 minutes late. I can deal with that. I'll probably be maybe 10 minutes late to Paddington. As long as I don't get emergency stop, I should be okay. Or at least there's no train in front of me that's going to stop me anyways. Operation Churchward is GWR's project to develop an option for future rolling stock. The point of this as a business sense is to try to modernize the fleet in some fashion. However, again, there's some problems with trying to modernize a fleet. One of the things that you may not realize is, I didn't realize this at least until tonight, is that GWR and all of the UK rails, because they're privatized, you also have owners that are also privatized. And the idea behind it is you had 3 owners that own all of the rolling stock, and you had companies that lease the rolling stock to the companies to run on the rails. Okay, that all makes sense in principle, but what you ended up having is these 3 companies trying to save as much money as possible. They effectively created a rolling stock monopoly. Nobody can just come in and start selling brand new stock because these 3 companies will try to gobble it up if they possibly can, or at least put brakes and barriers on this. And so this is essentially why you see endless Class 66s. This is why you've got an aging networker turbo. This is why you got an aging HST, and is why extremely hard to try to bring in new trains like the Hitachi 8XX series, right? It's really hard to bring in Pendolinos. It's really hard to bring in the new stock. And what actually happens is very ironic. The companies that run the rail line are actually trading leasing cars with each other. So one day, or at least earlier, Network Southeast owned the networker turbos. They pretty much bumped it off onto Great Western Railway. Once Great Western Railway is done with their portion of the lease, they'll bump that off probably to who knows where, Scotland or something like that. And these cars keep taking the round that they don't really ever get completely replaced. Because of that, the owners of the cars are making tons of bank on this. They even call that essentially a monopoly and a racket at the same time, practically. With the companies itself, the ones that are privatizing the rail journeys and picking up the ticket, they're kind of making money, just not as much as the paying the lease owner of the cars, right? And so what this starts to create is a problem of trying to see, can we electrify the lines? Of course we can, because we got these electrical wires that are above our head. But in this particular version of GWE, the wires are not completely modernized. Some of them were still being built in the time of 2015 timetable. This is why you don't really see all the wires on there, and you see a couple wires on there versus what you should be seeing. And now with that said, the point is to try to get all of the diesel engines off the tracks for GWE, or at least GWR, and prevent prevent no diesel running under any of the wires. So the fact that I am driving my train under the wires here in a diesel engine, both this and the HST, they want all of this off the road. What you look at there then is you're talking about trying to change this into electrification. So what can you do? They need to figure out how to deal with the challenges of the actual cost itself. However, they haven't quite figured it out yet. And part of the problem is you got canceled routes, you got paused routes, and then you have trials and tests, right? So one of the tests that they were doing is the Vivirail unit 230001 that's officially owned by GWR. So the 230, the class 230s, those battery operated trains are under a trial. I mentioned this a few episodes back. I believe that was a crossing where I'm actually supposed to honk the horn, but I go so fast that I can't even tell sometimes, you know what I mean? But yeah, so with that said, how are you supposed to do this if you can't keep the costs under control, either because of you, the operator, or you, the train itself, to be able to purchase? And then you're also fighting with the owner in terms of trying to swap out leasings and rolling stock. You just end up with some ridiculous situation where you can't ever get an upgrade to your train line. You know, in the end of the day, you have Class 387 Electrostars. That is still part of GWR's long-term plan. They don't have a better candidate in the meantime. Until they get a better candidate, they won't be replacing the 387. So that means you'll be seeing 387 for quite some time. If electrification did get extended in some fashion, 387s will still be used for destinations like Bristol, Oxford, or just completely replace them with battery-operated EMUs. If that, again, is the case, they have to have that battery-operated train have the capacity to run beyond the overhead wires. Again, this is where tri-mode engine come in handy, where you have diesel in the event you need to go to somewhere like Action Yard, which won't have wires. This is where you have electric train, where you have the ability to work off the wires, and then battery-operated train, where you don't necessarily need the wires themselves. However, they may be doing tri-mode, where you will have electrification for the wires, and then you have battery-operated to go beyond the wires itself to at least a limited location of 222 miles or so, at least that much range. I think that's about as far as the battery operated train can go. Find the last episode, I talked about it at one point somewhere back there. It really did say how long it was. Now, despite the fact that Freightliner and CargoDB are looking into the ECTWS, whatever it is, that safety system from Europe, right? Despite the fact that they're looking to try and enhance the safety system, TWR is actually looking at being the forefront of the actual development of battery technology, and it is progressing with Vivirail, the Class 230 battery units, as I said, in the Greenford branch in West London. These plans got to, what are you doing, buddy? You're about to fall off my train. But yeah, so these plans got disrupted as the company ran into financial trouble, right? And I'm about to stop here, and I don't... Oh my god, you counted that objective. That's just dumb. Fine, we'll just unlock the door. It is fine. We'll stop here. That's good enough. Maidenhead, yay. I did unlock the door. Do it again. What GWR did really well, they took on the Vivirail staff, and not only took on the battery-operated train, but they also took redundant D-stock vehicle as well. And the idea behind it is to create a bay platform at West Ealing, the fast charge system that Vivirail developed to power the battery train. It'd be like how we are stopped here to stop for, what, 2-3 minutes. In that time it takes us to stop, the train will trickle charge, and that's the idea behind the battery train, extending the miles as far out as possible. Keep in mind the thought I have in my head, the battery can last 7 years and going to be crazy expensive to replace these batteries every like 7 to 10 years or so. That's just, you know, too much, I think. Locking the left doors, watching our neighbor out there depart, yay. Watching ourselves depart, this is a good time to just kind of check this all out to ourselves. Excellent, folks, excellent. Next up, Twyford. We are almost at the end of our journey. The idea behind the Thames Valley battery operated train is they want to be able to have at least the main phase done. Once they finish up that, once they finish the second phase, then the technology can finally roll out throughout the Thames Valley, and the idea behind it is a fleet of 3-car units, almost like the Networker Turbos. The goal with it is to have 1 unit each of Winter and Henley branches, 2 for the Marlow branch, and then the Greenford unit in a maintenance and operational spared in the event that something breaks down somehow. We hope nothing breaks down. Twyford 6.5 miles. Good. We have a long way to go. So the advantage of having the 7x3 car battery 230s in the Thames Valley would allow for the Network Turbo DMUs to be used somewhere else, essentially in the west of England. If I'm reading that right, either GWR can keep the lease, use the Networker Turbo somewhere else on their own line, or they could release the lease and give it to another company and let them deal with the problem of having 30-year-old train. And again, if they do go with battery operated train, the issue here is they have to have investment in fast charge equipment at Slough, Slough, Burnston, and Twyford. All of the places that we drive along already, so they have to make that work. And on the Greenford trial, the fast charge equipment will be powered from an external supply, so they also need to make sure the fast charge actually properly works on internal supply. One of their little hurdles they have to overcome over time. One of the nifty features is the idea of hooking into the main line above to do charging itself, so maybe having a pantograph for that sort of thing. Who knows what they're thinking about this, but essentially hooking up the overhead wires for the fast charging equipment, which then fast charges the engine. Somehow it will figure it all out and they'll work itself out. Now, the fact that they picked up 67 redundant D-stock vehicles, I will try to find a picture of what D-stock vehicles look like, because I have no idea what that looks like off the top of my head. At least I think this is the first time I've read it. If I talked about it before, remind me please, somebody. I cannot press Q fast enough, please, thank you. I don't need to stop yet. This isn't the only thing that GWR is doing. GWR is also looking with Eversholt Rail at the trial replacement of the diesel generator unit. I presume diesel generator unit means something like the networker turbo, we'll see, but they're looking to switch the diesel generator unit with batteries on the class 802 IET. No, it is not. It's going to be something like the Hitachi Rail unit. That's the one they're going to be trialing this on. However, I'm a little concerned about that because they've had some issues with that particular line itself. The fact is, this is not really conducive in general. Just do that because just in general, because it's not going to work for the 802s anyways. One of the things they are going to look at also is the Transpian Express Class 802 will be subject of a battery trial. Instead of doing a complete replacement, they're just going to do a complete engine overhaul. If GWR can get a hold of engine themselves, not just doing leases, but if they can start to own engines, they can cut costs from the monopoly of the three owners that own all the rolling stock practically. About, I think, 87 to 95% of the rolling stock is owned by these three companies. So the more rolling stock that GWR can own themselves internally, the better it is cost-wise they can do, and the more leasing opportunities they can just release out, give it to other companies, make them go bankrupt, and then GWR can finally, turn a decent profit and make things work. One of the things that GWR is not considering at all is hydrogen fuel trains. Don't expect that to see on the line. Those things will probably blow up halfway down the line, so I doubt that's going to work anyway. They are looking at sleeper traction though. With the Night Riviera sleeper services, one of the problem is when you look at the Class 57, they do have to give them an overhaul to keep them in service. The Class 57s are also like the Class HST and the Class 165. They've just been in service like forever, you know what I mean? And you've got to do something with that. So the MK3 sleepers were actually built later than the MK3 HST trailers and have been used overall less intensively as other units. So that's the advantage there. Realistically, the HST version of it covered at least 1,000 miles a day, which is, still pretty excessive, but it's not as bad. The sleeper units operate about one trip in each direction about 6 nights per week, which means their mileage is relatively low by comparison. Figure 20 miles at best, 6 nights per week, right? So that's not bad. That's probably a couple hundred miles compared to the 1,000 miles that the regular train would be doing. We probably should put on the brake given we're going pretty close to 90 miles an hour and we're going to be stopping pretty darn soon. We're just going to coast that down a little bit. So consideration with those sleeper units is dealing with traction itself, with the key requirement to have the locomotive have sufficient power to climb the Devon bank. I wholeheartedly agree with this because all the HSTs I've driven, just compared to US units, it doesn't have any power. Compared to the Networker Turbo, it doesn't even have power. At least the Networker Turbo, we could just bump this up all the way to throttle 7, compared to the, the Class 66s, we can again bump those up to throttle 8, I believe it is. And so we have more power with those engines. We just don't have it with the HST. One of the things they're looking at least is the Class 93 tri-mode ordered by Rail Operation Group from Sadler. This would not necessarily meet the need that they're looking for to be able to achieve this. We should probably blow our horn into Twyford. So far, I haven't missed a stop in the rain. I'm extremely thrilled. I've been hitting every Networker Turbo on the line. That's impressive. I mean, I could have I'm late here. People were missing their transfer. Sorry about that here, but it's working overall, right? I don't think I'm going to miss the end of the line. That is perfect. Yes, we're going right on target. I love this. Today, we're hitting every target on the ball. Networker Turbo, you are amazing. Unlocking left doors, of course. Even though the Class 93 tri-mode isn't really the one that's going to meet the demand to go all the way up to Devon Banks, the Class 99 Electro Diesel order by GB Rail Freight may potentially work itself out. One of the things I will try to look into in the very last episode with the HST is the fact that they're considered Castle class, and those HSTs are essentially on borrowed time. Don't expect to see them on the rails very long. The idea is trying to get them swapped out and made into new engines again. They've been on the rails for like 60 plus years. If you haven't had a chance to drive one of those HSTs, please drive one while you have a chance. If you haven't have a chance to ride on one, please ride on one as much as possible. And as usual, of course, like, subscribe, leave me comments, save, bookmark me, whatnot. whatever you can do to help support me, I really appreciate all that. Final stop, we are going to Reading. I almost said London Paddington, but our final stop is Reading. Thankfully, at least at Reading, if we pass the single, at least we're just going straight through. The downside about Reading is the single is like 3 yards away from the final stop, so we do have to be a little careful in about 5 miles here. GWR has made timetable changes. Remember, the one that we're driving today is from 2015. The remastered version is going to be releasing with the 2017 version. GWR has also had the biggest expansions in December of 2019. The 2023 timetable change includes a lot of those expansions. The highlight of that is improvement to services in the west of England in connection with the Metro West project. The second service each hour was introduced between Bristol and Gloucester. And additional hourly services have been provided between Bristol and Westbury, taking the frequency to 3 trains per hour. The advantage of that is now there's a standard interval timetable, although the 3 services do not necessarily extend to these points every single hour on the hour. Oh my god, stop. I wanna stop doing that, stop doing that, darn AWS. But yeah, so the stretch now has a standard interval timetable, and the 3 services do not necessarily extend to these points every hour. The paths from Bristol do allow for Portsmouth, Weymouth, and Southampton services. Notable boost was on the Heart of Wessex line to Weymouth with the move to 2 hourly intervals. Bristol is actually seeing a bunch of service expansion over time, including the reopening of the Portishead line, which has finally overcame numerous obstacles that prevented it from being open. Too bad we don't have enough time to get into that. Maybe in the next version of the UK lines will finally arrive in Portishead and we can have a lot of conversation around that. Funding has also been given for the Mid-Cornwall Metro, and this will deliver infrastructure on the Newquay branch to enable hourly through service to operate via the main line there as well. And the challenge for GWR is essentially finding self-powered rolling stock to operate these additional services. Again, remember, there's 3 companies that own practically every rolling stock in the country, and you have to lease these out, and if they're all being leased, you got some problems. You got to kind of negotiate your leases, right? So that means the HSTs are essentially going to be the thing that's going to be on the service for endless time. We can't just change that instantly, and you have to do a phased withdrawal of the HST. More on that in the next episode, so stay tuned if you want to see more. Now, what you might see is the Class 150 and the 158 DMUs being released by lease, and this will happen, and they will probably be the very last fleet that will be released by the Transport for Wales, I believe it is. And it's just weird how they do that, Transport for Wales instead of Transportation of Wales. Okay, whatever. Put it this way, they don't want to accidentally introduce newer services and reducing services on existing lines at the same time. That wouldn't work so well. Put it this way, when they try to put in new train schedules, they have a tendency of having it slip backwards and end up in just, quagmire problems. So trying to reduce services while introducing new stuff doesn't really work out unless you know for sure you have your new stuff on board, right? And so you want to make sure you can do that. I see the 40-mile-an-hour zone. I'm trying to slow down as quickly as I can to that 40-mile-an-hour zone because we are coming to our final stop of Reading anytime now. In the meantime, with all of this said, we are driving a Networker Turbo today. We thank you all for riding the very last Networker Turbo. The refresh program that didn't happen in 2015, it has already happened for the turbos. Maybe in the 2019 version, we can actually get, updated Networker Turbos. That will be really nice, but I doubt that's going to happen. And with the 3-car 166s are already done practically, we're going to eventually start to see some new stuff on the line. Not really. It'll just be refurbished old stuff. That's just how it's going to go, folks. That's just how it's going to go. All right, folks, we're coming up on our final stop at Reading. We are just going to drop under 40 just for a minute so I don't have any extra speeding. And we're at this point, I think I should be paying attention to the line. We should probably honk ahead just to let people know we're rolling on in the rain. One more time with that AWS, one more time. Now, you might remember me talking about 10,550 AP or some number like that. I said something about just make it past 11,000. We have 13,170. We did extremely well today. We're just going to coast our final Networker Turbo, our final late mission, I guess you can say. And then we're going to try hard to be early with our last HST mission if we can make this work. Like I said earlier, like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Oh my God, we're going to drive through this. I better slow down here before I do. If I crash, please find a way to still like and subscribe, right? If I don't crash, definitely you have to like and subscribe for this, right? We're going to check out our final score, see if we got platinum medal, which of course we should be having a platinum medal because that was the aim for this last Networker Turbo. turbo to do as well as possible without passing the single at danger, which is what we feel like I'm trying to do here. 19 yards away, and our final networker turbo mission is at an end. Yay. Now, before we do, we should unlock the right doors this time, and we probably just turn on the DRA for extra safety. You know, it's already at full service, so we're good there. We should be good just to let our train just kind of lock itself out. Normally, as an engineer, I would hop out the door, but it's raining horribly, so I'm just gonna stay inside, and we're just gonna, you know, hop out here for a second, check on the passengers, thank everybody for the wonderful journey that we've had here. Check out the twins there, and the twins here, and the twins there. Everybody's a twin tonight. But yeah, is nobody getting in? Is there nobody getting in? Oh, they're all going that way. Where are you guys going? The train's leaving without you folks. You all need to get on the train right now. You're all, maybe you're the people. Oh, good. Lady, you got on the train. Good job. I appreciate you. Lady? Oh my god, she disappeared. She became a ghost. That's just insane. Where did the lady... Oh, there you are. Thank you for coming on board my train. I do appreciate that, wonderful lady. Let's just go ahead and go back to our engine because it's going to be time to lock our doors and see our final score, folks. All right, with that said, we should probably close that door and lock the right doors this time. And with that, our mission officially done at 7 in the morning. Yay. Final score? Why did we even get speeding? Where did it speed? Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot I sped in the very beginning. I just completely forgot that. Minus 32.5. Good job, me. You know what I love? I left the engine and I left vehicle unsafely. I've never gotten a point in this thing. I want to see if there's a way to maybe one day get points for that. Junction changes. I don't understand what that's all about, but whatever. Anyhow, we got our platinum medal and we have one more HST mission to go, and we're finally done with all of the GWEs. Yay, at least for the scenarios and the journey mode. So again, like, subscribe, leave me comments. I appreciate you all taking the ride with me, and we will see you in the next one, folks. Bye, guys. $2 million, or 82 million pounds, I should say. And this included GWR, liner, transpin, express, ScotRail, and Hull trains. All of these were being built in that particular plant. However, the problem with it is you had these trains develop cracking issue. This is the second issue that came up with the intercity express trains.